Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Something we've been doing this week is checking in with the rest of the NFC South. Atlanta a couple days ago. Yesterday I went to Charlotte. Let's go down to Tampa. Greg Allman has been on the Bucs beat since 2013. Now with Fox Sports covering the entire NFC South, but certainly still his finger on the pulse there with Tampa. He's good enough to join us for a couple of minutes. Greg, thanks for the time. How are you?
Hey, doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Our pleasure. I'm going to ask this. It's going to be sort of a blunt question. I don't mean to be rude, but I'm just curious the perspective there in Tampa. Is the perception that Tampa is tanking?
Not so much here in Tampa. I mean, I think outside, sure. I mean, I think Brady's gone. I think the expectation is this is a team, I think over-under in Vegas is 6.5 wins. So I can see why you think that. They certainly are trying to be competitive. They certainly are trying to win. Brady's gone, but there's still a lot of players back, from that Super Bowl team. And they're in a division that, as you guys see, is still fairly up for grabs. So, I mean, I get why people think that. Every time I tweet that Baker Mayfield has thrown a practice interception, I get Caleb Williams picked in reply. So
that's the point, isn't it? Can you blame them if that's what they're going for?
Yeah, and it's funny because I think there are fans. I always feel like fans, the ones that are at games, are a little bit more invested. But if you're a casual fan, if you're a Bucs fan in Minneapolis or something,
sure.
I can see why you might put up with more losses. It's like you're choosing between 7-10 and picking 12th, or 3-14 and picking, first or second. I can see why that's two different levels of bad, one of which has a big reward long term.
Yeah.
I still think the Bucs think they can win. So I don't think there's real intention to it. They put themselves into a bind cap-wise where they really can't add the way you'd like to. So they're kind of paying a little bit of the piper this year for all the talent they squeezed into the roster around Brady for 3 years. But again, they're still trying to win here one way or the other.
Well, the Saints have proved it, Greg. You can just keep kicking that can down the road, brother. If you want to spend, you can do it. Well, let me ask you about the quarterbacks that are there. The 10,000-foot view is, hey, maybe Kyle Trask is gaining on Baker Mayfield. What's the reality around that situation with those two right now?
I do think he's helped himself. I mean, I went into camp thinking that the sheer experience edge that Baker Mayfield has would be tough to overcome, and that he not only would Trask have to play at a high level, but Baker would kind of have to actively lose the job. He's trying a little bit right now. He's thrown a lot of picks in the first 10 days of practice. I really think he has to have problems in preseason games. I think if they're both ordinary, they're still going to lean with the known commodity and go with somebody who has, been to the playoffs and thrown for 100 touchdowns in the league versus the upside of somebody who hasn't done really anything but could be a better quarterback.
What is maybe a thumbnail scouting report? What have you seen from Baker so far?
You see the competitiveness right away, and I think it takes a certain unreal confidence to want to come somewhere and succeed Tom Brady, even if Brady wasn't as good the last year as he had been. You still see the playmaker. Baker has as many interceptions as any quarterback in the NFL since he came into the league. So the fact that he has 6 picks in 8 practices isn't that shocking. They haven't really been bad picks. It's kind of been, trying things. Probably a couple goal line picks where, could have thrown a better pass, if you will, but not like egregious, terrible interceptions. So no, I think it's one of those where Baker, has gone to 4 teams in 13 months. So if he doesn't have success here, he's probably done going anywhere with an expectation of starting. He needs to do well here, or he's in, kind of that Winston Bortles land where you can go somewhere, but you probably need an injury to get back on the field in a meaningful role.
Sure. Greg Allman is with us on Twitter at Greg Allman, AUMAN, covers all the NFC South for Fox Sports. If you want to give him a follow, you can. Last year, obviously, the gigantic storyline in camp was the offensive line, a retirement of Ali Marpet, the injuries. Has that unit rectified at all so far this year?
Yeah, it's much different, is what I would say. Jensen, literally everything is in a different spot. Jensen, we think will be back healthy here. He hasn't really been like a daily full go type thing. So I think they're just being careful with his knee. Tristan Wirfs went from right tackle to left tackle. That seems to be taking well, but that's still a big adjustment. New left guard in Matt Filer, who's a veteran. New right guard in Cody Mauk, who's a rookie, second-round pick out of North Dakota State. And the right tackle was the left guard at the start of last year. So it's kind of a lot of reshuffling. New offensive coordinator, kind of a different philosophy, and I hope they think that all those things combined will create a little bit more consistency, a little bit bigger, stronger inside that might lead to a more consistent run game too.
Let me ask you one defensively. We're based here in Baton Rouge, so there's a lot of people interested always in the LSU guys. And Devin White had sort of a contentious situation there, but everything I read, Greg, is he's having a great camp. And what's the latest there with Devin White?
Yeah, I don't know that I would say a great camp. I can't say I've noticed him that much. Just kind of laying low. The best thing he can do is probably just keep his head down, play football, make plays, and try and get back in the good graces of fans. I think he's hurt himself from a PR standpoint. Going back to last season and how he handled some things, and obviously this spring asking for a trade, kind of flirting online with other teams, if you will. So, I mean, he's the guy who's a 3-year captain. So I'm curious to see whether he still has the confidence of his teammates, whether he's still seeing someone who will wear a C on his chest. But no, this is a big year for him. I think he wants to get paid among the best linebackers in the NFL, and he has a chance this season to show that he should do that. So one way or the other, it'll kind of shake out for him. I don't know that the Bucs are in a position to pay him that much, but it might be kind of like Quan Alexander, another LSU guy a couple years ago. They had 3-4 really good years here in Tampa, but then wound up getting paid somewhere else.
Last thing for you, Greg, I'm not asking for betting advice here, but I have asked the NFC South reporters that we've had on the show, because it's interesting to see this grouping, right? The Saints at 9.5, the Falcons at 8.5, the Panthers at 7.5, Bucs at 6.5. You referenced 6.5. If I made you guess today, like over under that 6.5, where would you think the Bucs, provided they stay healthy as they are, which we know a lot will change, but where would you fall today?
I still would probably take the over right now, and not like 10 wins take the over, but 7 or 8 seems reasonable. They still have a relatively simple schedule. They have some really tough teams in their schedule, but they also have, I think it's 8 games against quarterbacks that have 5 career starts or less.
Wow.
So that helps. We don't know how the middle of this division, kind of the Falcons, Panthers, Saints. I say middle; they're all about the middle of this division.
Yeah,
but
they are.
The Bucs have those 3 division champion games that they now have as a result of having a first place schedule, and that makes it tougher for them just to stay even with the rest. But if they can be better in division, I think that still keeps them in the thick of things, is what I would say. So, like I said, the simple answer is take the over, but not with a whole lot of confidence or excitement.
He is Greg Auman. You'll give him a follow at Greg Auman, AUMA, and Fox Sports, covering the NFC South and based out of Tampa there since 2013. Greg, I appreciate it, man. Great to catch up. Have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Take care.
It's our pleasure. All right, it's after further review. One of the other things about, I saw this earlier today, just looking at the South. Jeff Okudah today, remember the former number 3 overall pick in the draft? He was carted off at Falcons practice. They're awaiting an MRI on his ankle. Say it all the time. I mean, the thing when you have these conversations about what do you look for in camp, fall camp, training camp, whatever, health. Stay healthy. I mean, look at how many players we've already seen carted off at practices. Trey Turner was carted off. At the very beginning of training camp in Detroit, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was carted off. Thankfully, he's okay. Jeff Okudah today was carted off. Eagles linebacker Patrick Johnson was carted off. There was a Steelers rookie cornerback who's been placed on IR. Bengals rookie wide receiver Charlie Jones carted off. I mean, just Google the word carted. Just Google the phrase carted off and see. I'm not laughing, but it's just an inevitability. It's football. I mean, you're going to see these injuries, and you hope it just doesn't affect your team the way it does a lot of teams. It was interesting, though. So, if I'm not mistaken, we had Zeno on Wednesday, and he didn't actually say take the over with the Falcons. Zeno actually does a lot of betting content, sports betting content. And Zeno said the play for the Falcons is to win the division, which basically would tell you take the over. But he was more saying look at where the value is, because the value on the over for the Falcons has come down. but essentially saying that he feels like they'll win more than 7. I guess 8. They're 8.5. We had Julian Council yesterday, who covers the Panthers. He said take over 7.5. And we said Greg Allman there from Tampa. He said take over 6.5. It's a weird thing, man. Now, like, I look at Tampa, and I'm going to say this again. Tampa is tanking. They're not telling you they're tanking. They are tanking. They fire-sailed their whole team. They've got Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask at quarterback. They are tanking. They're tanking without tanking. They're trying to have the worst record in the league so they can draft Caleb Williams. That's what they're doing. I don't blame them. That's if I were a Bucs fan, that's what I would want. That's what I want the Saints to do. Please. Tank and get a great quarterback to set you up for do you think, with the benefit of hindsight, the year when Peyton Manning was out and the Colts had Jim Sorgi playing quarterback or whoever it was, it got them Andrew Luck for a decade. Now, they never got over the hump with Luck, but still, it's solidified. One bad year, and they were solidified for a decade. Yeah, give me that. What you got, Muse?
Is it SEC Media Days all over again where just everybody's going to win the division? All of them. The Saints, the Bucs, Falcons, Panthers, they're all winning the division this year.
But it's the problem when the division is bad.
Yeah.
There is no clear cut. It's not like there isn't I hate comparing college to NFL. It's just not the same. But there isn't a Georgia in this division. Just look at the NFL. There isn't. You're not in the NFC or the AFC West. There isn't Kansas City sitting right there. Where you're even if you're the Chargers, where you love your quarterback and you feel like you're a really good team that could win a championship, you're still not going to be favored to win your division with that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I that was whenever you said there's not a Georgia the first, I was like, yeah, Kansas City. He's like, Kansas City's that team. They're the only, I think really they're the only team in the NFL that you could say that about, right?
Kansas City?
Yeah.
I'd have to think about the divisions. Tampa or New England was that, of course, in the AFCs for so long. Yeah, probably.
But now you have Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that division. Yeah. And Miami might be the
49ers, maybe? Do we really believe in the Rams and the Seahawks? I know we don't believe in the Cardinals.
Do you believe in the 49ers at quarterback? That's why I paused.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy was great at the end of last year, but he's got coming off an injury. We don't know once the book is out on Brock Purdy how he does. But so there's questions, but that's how the NFL should be.
You're right.
There should be that's the point of the NFL.
Yep.
That's why it's the best league in the world. It's why we love it, because it's the any given Sunday thing. There shouldn't be where you just take a Sharpie at the beginning of it. You shouldn't have the New England Patriots win a division every year for 15 years. It shouldn't be that way. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.